Hey, welcome to Refresh. I'm Jeremy, and my heart is to produce content that will actually refresh your spirit, refresh your mind, and refresh your vision. I wanted to start with a story today. This story began about 2,000 years ago with a baby, and not the baby you're actually thinking about. This baby was actually born to a poor family. Nobody knows exactly what happened to him, but somewhere along the line, it could have been an accident, it could have been a disease, but whatever it was, it caused this young boy to become blind. Now, as they were a poor family, they didn't have the money to take the child to a doctor. And because of that, there was nothing they could do for him, and the boy's fate was sealed. He could do no useful work. He would just basically have to beg for his living. Now, in the ancient world, the process of sight is not understood the way that we understand sight today. You see, they thought that the source of light was from inside of you and it projected from your eyes onto what you saw so that you could see, that the light was literally inside of you. Now, we understand it today that the light comes from another source, bounces off the object that we're looking at, and we see that reflected light from what happens in our optic nerve. But with this different kind of point of view that the ancients had of sight, there was a logic that went behind it that said this, that if you were blind, there was no light in you, and therefore you had no light in your soul. And if you had no light in your soul, you had to be evil. And because of this, the people of the city where this guy lived, well, they looked at him as somebody who would never be of any value. And over time, the boy attained a name, and that name was Bartimaeus. Now, Bartimaeus literally means son of filth, and he lived up to his name. He became a filthy beggar, and every day he would stumble to the city gates, put his bowl down, and wait, hoping there would be enough kind people, hoping that he would have enough coins to buy a meager meal by the end of the day, hoping that there would be no one who would take advantage of his blindness and steal the few pieces of silver that he had collected. One day, he was sitting in his usual place, and he noticed that there was a crowd that was gathering around him, and he could hear a noise coming down the road that sounded like hundreds of people starting to move towards the city gate. And he asked himself, is it the Romans? And he listened. And as he listened, he could hear the people, but he couldn't hear the clanging of metal shields. He could not hear the clanging of armor or of swords. And he knew that it couldn't be the Romans. Then what else could be happening? Is it some kind of riot? And finally, he asked somebody, what's going on? What's happening here? And the person close to him just very curtly said to him, well, it's Jesus. Jesus is coming. And all of a sudden, there was something in his mind that clicked, because he'd heard stories about this man. This man had healed the leper. This man had made men who were lame walk. This man was a man who opened blind eyes. And something deep within his soul began to well up. And before he knew it, it erupted out into a call where he said, Jesus, have mercy on me. People around him started to look at him. Be quiet, you dirty beggar. Again, he cried with the strength of two men, Jesus, have mercy on me. Silence, Bartimaeus, you son of filth. Suddenly, silence fell on the street. He heard a gentle voice. Bring him to me. People helped him up. He took off his beggar's rag and took off the cloth that covered his head and moved towards the voice. Hands reached out to guide him. He heard a noise. Someone was coming towards him. He moved to fall to his knees, but a strong arm lifted him up. A gentle voice asked, what would you like me to do for you? Bartimaeus' mind was racing. I would like to see again. And Jesus replied, all right. Receive your sight. Your faith has healed you. The man's eyes opened, and immediately he began to follow Jesus. Now you might be sitting there saying, cool story, Jeremy. So what? Well, one of the most amazing things about this story for me is that one encounter with Jesus changed this man's life forever. And it wasn't just because he received his sight. In fact, I believe it's what Jesus did and did not say to him that really made the difference. Jesus moved Bartimaeus from being a nobody to a somebody. And the first thing that Jesus actually said to him was, "Bring him to me." No one had ever said that before. It was always, "Shut up, go away, get out of here, you filthy beggar, clear off." Never, "Come here, I want to talk to you." No one wanted to talk to him. And in that one statement, Jesus communicated to him something he had never heard before, and that was, "You are accepted." Another thing that I really noticed is that Jesus never really used Bartimaeus' name. He never once called him son of filth. And I just think in that simple action of just not calling him that, not reinforcing that idea, he said, "There's something different. I see you differently than other people see you. In fact, you belong. You're not an outsider. You're not a filthy person we need to avoid. You're somebody who's accepted, somebody who belongs with the rest of humanity." But the next statement must have blown this man out of the water. He said, "What would you like me to do for you?" No one had asked him that before. He had lived his whole life being told where to go, what to do, how to get there. No one had asked his opinion. No one had been concerned about what he had to say. And in that simple question, Jesus let him know, "You matter." And when the man said he would like to see again, Jesus didn't hesitate. He said, "All right, receive your sight." Instantly he could see. And this is really an important thing because love is action. Love is not a statement. Love is not a noun. Love is a verb. And Jesus did not say, "If you do these things, if you follow all these rules, then I will love you." He demonstrated his love for this man by opening his eyes. What he said next was kind of a curiosity to me. He said, "Your faith has saved you." Here was a man who had been blind his whole life, and he'd been told that the reason he was blind because of the spiritual darkness inside of him. But Jesus said, "It's a light inside of you that's rescued you." Can you imagine how that changed him? He was letting him know, you have potential. Your life is too important to waste. You know, one of the things I've noticed is that we have Bartimaeuses all around us. Maybe they're not filthy beggars. Despite all they have, they don't feel like their lives matter. Maybe they feel like they're not accepted. Maybe they feel like there's a standard that's been set for them that they will never reach. They feel like they just don't belong. And maybe you're listening to this and you have some of those feelings. And I want to tell you today that your life matters. In fact, that's the takeaway from this video that I have for you today, is that all lives matter. Can you imagine if we took that statement seriously? Can you imagine what would happen over time if we met someone, we said, "How can I add value to that person's life?" I think we would change the world. And that leads me to the question of the day. What is one way that you could add value to others? I'd love to hear what you guys come up with, so please leave your answers in the comments below. And hey, if you like this video, if you felt like it added value to you today, please take a moment to hit that subscribe button and ring the bell so you get notifications. And when I upload the next video, you can be a part of what's happening with that too. Until then, keep moving onwards, keep looking upwards, and I'll see you in the next video.